When you think of 80s pop stars, who comes to mind first? Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Madonna, Debbie Gibson? What about the most truly outrageous of them all? Jem and the Holograms. Welcome to the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. My name is Ryan. With me today is my pop culture loving brother, who has been one of my biggest inspirations for many a TV or movie obsession growing up. Thank you so much for being here, David, and welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, to tell the lovely people a little bit about yourself.
So, I always tell people that I am the dad of 4 amazing adopted children. And I kind of use that opportunity to tell people to definitely adopt and foster through child state services, child protection services in their state. I think it's really important. It's been an amazing journey for me. So I have had a brief stopover in the entertainment industry, clearly by chance, as in being cut at the movie adaptation of Bewitched starring Nicole Kidman. Yes. I was on a Korean television show, which I did not understand what they were saying. I was eating hot dogs at the famous Pink's Hot Dogs in California. I was on an unknown and very short-lived show called Ballroom Boot Camp with one of my friends.
It was a show where they would teach people who didn't know how to dance how to do choreography or dancing.
It's basically like Dancing with the Stars. So honestly, I feel like they stole the idea and they just added stars to it, because it basically took unknown people, taught them classic ballroom dancing, all these different types of dance that you see right on Dancing with the Stars, and pin them up against each other. There's a little bit of drama, a little bit behind the scenes recording. They do everything like that, and then they get their 15 minutes of fame, I guess, on that show.
So, we don't want the everyday people anymore. We want the celebrities, or at least the B celebrities, or available celebrities.
So, let me get back to a little bit about myself. I have been a singer and a songwriter for many years. One of my songs was never copyrighted, so it actually was taken by a band and put on a compilation album. That doesn't really bother me because they were horrible performers anyway and didn't go anywhere, but I actually had to pay 99 cents to iTunes to actually download my own song that I wrote.
Yeah, that was the worst part. I remember this.
But you live, you learn. I didn't have the money to fight, them in court, and it wasn't worth it. But my music got out there, a song that I wrote got out there. So anyway, that's me. I'm on the West Coast, surviving COVID like everybody else is. It definitely gives me an opportunity to try to share some of the stuff that made me back in the day, like cartoons and music with my kids more, because we're kind of home all the time.
This kind of leads to today's topic. We have foster/adoption, which ties into Jem, and the music industry, and how someone can just take a song, like the Misfits in this case, and steal your music. So look at those life lessons we have to go along with today's topic right now.
Very true.
Okay, so let's dive into some retro news. Okay, so one of our obsessions growing up, which I definitely inherited this from my brothers, is He-Man. Now, He-Man is coming back in a major way lately. Exclusively to Walmart, though, which is, I don't know how that ended up, but God bless you, Walmart, because you're bringing back He-Man. These are called He-Man Origin figures. They have retro-style packaging, which will appeal to, of course, people from back in the day. But now they are made for storytelling and display. So this collection is a 5.5-inch action figure. So they look like the original He-Man, but now they have 16 working joints. So back in the day when He-Man was just in that squatting position with that face, he no longer has the squatting. He can move now. He can hold the sword aloft.
He's more flexible.
He's more flexible. The most powerful man in the universe has become even more powerful this way. So it seems like this is part of the big comeback that they're planning with also the Netflix original He-Man show that's going to be coming out, which continues the original 80s storyline. I went to Walmart a few times. You've had better luck finding at least some of these things. When I went to Walmart, nothing was out. I mean, due to COVID, I'm sure everything's delayed, but you did see a few things, right?
So I saw some Lego type items, and lots of Skeletors. So I don't know if that was just what was in their shipment, but it was just wall to wall, just Skeletor action figures and some Lego items, which were kind of cool. My kids love Legos, but they love to destroy them, so I really don't usually get Legos for them because I end up stepping on them anyway. So
Do you think that these He-Mans in this nowadays would appeal to children that, well, it says for 6 and up. I mean, who the hell, adults, of course, were playing with these things too. But do you think this would appeal to your kids?
I'd have to see, honestly, the success of the movie. I know that the movie is in the works.
Which has been delayed about a million times now, unfortunately.
Well, the other thing is that my son, Joe, is obsessed still with Power Rangers.
Yes.
Because there are some that are now out, but they're very expensive, and my son destroys them, throws them around. I'm not going to spend I know that sounds horrible, I'm not spending like $50 on an action figure for him to break the head off and I
mean, because I feel like they're trying to appeal to adult collectors, so they mark these up. So they're appealing to the kids, but they also want to get that nostalgia and that price tag up, especially with these extra posableness. It's totally for the collectors, and they want to get that money. Have you noticed that it seems Mighty Morphin is still the most beloved version of this franchise? It's back now. It seems like if you see Power Rangers, you'll see the new incarnations, but it always goes back to Mighty Morphin, it seems.
I've seen every version, so that actually could be a whole different podcast, because Power Rangers have an extended catalog. Mystic Forces and Dino this, and we had the Return of Tommy, but anyway, I'll move on from that. But yeah, I think that they're going to market the toys, okay, buy one for your kids and then buy one for your adult collection. That's really how I see it.
That's right. I feel like, if anything, this is going to appeal to the adults, and through that, your kids might be interested. Because even with the retro packaging, I mean, they've done He-Man a few times now. They tried it for the kids. I think they realized that it's an adult market at this point, and having mini comics back, I think that's one of the other things. They have the mini comics that they used to have in the package as well with new art. So I'm totally excited about that. I feel like definitely be talking about He-Man and She-Ra going forward. I think at one point, maybe we could do the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. Anyone?
Skeletor has a heart of gold.
He really does. And I feel like Skeletor has become this, not a joke in the sense of that, but people love to take him. I don't know if anyone's seen that image of Skeletor in the Snuggie now with his little whine, and Panther is like a cat. He's become this funny thing just to use. And because we all love Skeletor. I mean, who doesn't love Skeletor? So right before filming this episode, the original voice of Jem herself, Samantha Newark, added the podcast randomly. I feel like it was just meant for us to do Jem. We had been discussing this. This is David's, really one of his favorite cartoons. I could always remember, even when I was growing up younger, that he appreciated this cartoon. And having Jem follow it, it felt like we got the seal of approval through her, not even knowing. But thank you, Jem. Thank you, Samantha Newark.
Yes, thank you so much. Really excited about that. I really hope that you enjoy this. If you don't tell us that.
That will just be that. We'll live in our bliss that you follow us, and
you were happy with everything.
We're happy with everything. Okay, so let's dive into today's topic, which is Jem and the Holograms.
Showtime synergy.
Now, David, why don't you just tell a little bit of why you love Jem and things that stand out for you in this truly outrageous TV classic?
Okay, so let me just start by telling you, I wrote down a bunch of things like a madman at 1 o'clock in the morning. I feel like the super fan from The Talking Dead, Yvette Nicole Brown.
Yes.
I'm just writing down random stuff. Why do I love it? Any show that starts with a funeral and a two-parter, I'm hooked.
That's right. For anyone who doesn't know, Jem's father dies in the pilot.
Yes, and she's at a funeral. It's very dramatic. And think about being a young kid and seeing this very dramatic beginning. Literally, they're at the cemetery. There are limos. There's a grave. It's not this is legit the full gambit. People in black.
This is not your normal kid show. They're telling you from the opening minutes, we're talking about death. We're talking about real life issues.
Yes. So that from the beginning got me. Obviously, I love music. I've always loved music. You really have to look at it on the whole, like the whole series, to kind of really get an appreciation in the sense of all the topics that they covered in a very 80s fashion.
Yes.
All of the what would you say? All of the stories that were told to teach a lesson, and but also some of the really bizarre things that they got away with doing under the guise of a cartoon. And I don't know. I'll just read some of my notes here.
Yes,
So first of
please.
all,
Give us your
speaking.
midnight madness note.
Speaking to my children, in one of the episodes, the Misfits called the Child Protective Services on Starlight House to get Jem and the Holograms in trouble. That is kind of disturbing, and it's a cartoon. And these are orphan children at a foster home / group home that Pizzazz from the Misfits called up and made a complaint that Starlight Girls weren't being taken care of, or one was missing, or something horrific like that.
Now, did they kidnap the one that was supposedly missing, which is
Yes,
another
she wanted
famous...
to. I think she wanted to become one of the Misfits, or she was misguided by them. I think they had her.
Because if anyone was going to misguide someone, it was those Misfits.
They were all about themselves, which, is actually very poignant for these days. But what else? So they paid and sent violent criminals to assault, rob, and kidnap Jem and the Holograms on multiple occasions. Locked up the Starlight Girls and trashed parties and events all the time. No police were ever involved. No matter what they did, they stole their equipment. They broke into their houses. They set things on fire. They stole recordings, master copies recordings, and re-recorded their own vocals over the tracks that Jem just...
Your story earlier of what
Yes.
happened to you. Now it's 99 cents on iTunes somewhere.
Yeah, does life imitate art? I think so. That, and plus, every episode, there was some sort of a cliffhanger. They were either hanging off a cliff, being attacked by a wild animal, being lost in the Amazon in some kind of an Aztec temple. The Misfits, were kidnapping somebody. It was always action filled. And actually, I added these kind of touches of this like excitement and drama and, different things to entice boys to watch it, because the way Jem was sandwiched in between, I think it was like by G.I. Joe. It was around that.
And it's also one of the notes that we had found with researching it was in this sandwich block directly in the middle, and G.I. Joe, but also Inhumanoids. Okay, so yes, this was sandwiched in between G.I. Joe and Inhumanoids, and then later on at some point the Transformers. So yes, this is one of the facts. You're right, it had to appeal to both boys and girls.
Which, by all accounts, it appealed to the many, many boys just because of the music and the costumes and the fun part of it. It didn't have to be Jem being constantly being abducted or attacked, but it helped.
That's what makes it the classic that stands out today. Peril. Going back to the characters, I feel like Jem, who real name is Jerrica Benton, she comes off as such a mature, really a leader for these girls. What do you think about Jem and Jerrica as a character?
So yes, Jerrica was very adult-like for her age and very mature because her mom died before the dad. So now couple that with then her father passing away, I think she went into this mode where she had to take over a big business, and to take care of her sister, and also the Starlight House, where all of her good friends were also her soon-to-be bandmates in the future. As you see, the Holograms all grew up together through Starlight House. So I think definitely she had a much more mature approach to life in general, because she had to. I mean, like I said, she lost her mom, she lost her dad. She saw, children who were abandoned in the foster system. So I think she definitely was the adult in the situation, unlike her sister Kimber.
Kimber, yes. Let's talk about Kimber.
I just want to shake her sometimes.
The fiery redhead, much like David.
So I put down in my notes, Kimber needs to take a chill pill. So I love Kimber in the sense that she's her sister. And yes, she's part of the group, but she always seemed to be very competitive with her sister. And so I felt like she knew the story. They have this thing with these magical type earrings, holographic earrings that give them many, many things that nobody else can get. And she still has to have problems with her sister and be like competitive, feeling like she's left out when I don't think that was the case.
Because she is the songwriter, right? In the group, is she?
Yeah, she is. And actually, there's an episode where I'm going to jump around all over the place.
Yeah, let's jump.
So there's an episode where both Kimber and then Stormer of the Misfits feel unappreciated and feel like they're being tossed aside for whatever reasons. And they both break away from Gem and the Holograms and the Misfits, and they kind of form a quick little band sort of a thing, just Stormer and Kimber.
They
With a
went
song
solo, people. They went
Yes,
solo.
a song called I'm Okay. And then both Gem and the Holograms and then the Misfits both realized they couldn't do it without them. But I never thought that Gem and the Holograms thought they could do it without Kimber. I think Kimber thought that she deserved more more recognition for what she did, and the rest of the Holograms and Gem are like, hey, this is the way it is. I'm the front person. The earrings were given to me. You still get all the perks of everything, all the outfits, all the music. And you're a songwriter, and I'm not a songwriter. I'm the singer. It's not like they all didn't sing. So I feel very strongly about certain things when it comes to this.
Of course, but you're right. And if they didn't have Kimber, they wouldn't have these songs. They are fantastic songs. We're going to talk about the songs later. But Kimber, girl, you were writing some fantastic tunes. What about Aja? Do you think her and Shayna were mere background characters, or do you feel like they did give them identities of their own? I mean, Shayna is the fashion one, but do you feel like they were just there to be there?
No, because I felt like they played their role. I think, if anything, Aja probably was the least recognized character, other than that she had a romance with, I believe, or wanted to have a romance with Stormer's brother when he was trying out to be the drummer for Gem and the Holograms when they were thinking of getting a new bandmate. And I think she had a little bit of a romance with him. However, Shayna also felt unappreciated at some point, or sort of like she wasn't living up to her full potential just being a member of the band because of her fashion. And she ended up working for this rude bitch, some countess or so. I don't remember that. We'll have to look into that. But
it's always got to be a countess or something, right? It can't just be.
If you're going to work for somebody, you might as well work for a countess.
That's true.
But she started doing fashion more so, and then she realized that she loved the music too. So whatever. Then they got a new band member. That's a whole, then they got Rhea that replaced her. So then when Shayna came back, she ended up doing some other instruments, I guess. I don't.
Going back to that, yes, do you think it was a great idea to introduce that new character by having Shayna leave, but then come back, and they had already filled her spot, but of course they're going to take her back because they're sisters?
I think, I don't remember at what point Rhea came into the fold, so I'm not sure if that was just a way to infuse some new interest in the cartoon or not. I think it was great they had a new band member. She obviously had something else to bring to the table for them.
Well, that's right. For someone who doesn't know, each character really represents a different race.
Yes.
So Aja was the Asian character. Shayna was the African-American character. With this character, she was Latina of the group.
Latina.
So you got that representation, which was also wonderful. I'm sure that people appreciated that at the time.
Well, I think it was amazing that despite the fact that obviously Hasbro wanted to sell toys and to make money, that they had a black Barbie, so to speak, not to use the name Barbie, but that, so I think that, and to have a character that, a doll for a little girl that looked similar to them, or possibly closely similar to them, really did, I would think, would mean something. And the fact that they were just fun and glamorous, and for the time with all the eye makeup and the craziness and the hair colors, I think it was fun.
Gem will be right back after these messages. And now, back to Gem.
Okay, so now that we talked about the bandmates, let's talk about side characters, maybe Rio, which is Jerrica, Gem's love interest. And I know that David has a lot to say about Rio.
Okay. So first off the bat, there's something I've been wanting to get off my chest for years. Rio Pacheco. He has the nerve to be upset, pouty, and possessive while he is sleeping with what he believes to be two different women. He's sleeping with both of them because of the song who is he kissing? And I'll quote the lyrics of this. So the lyrics are, in the first line, who is he kissing? Is it me, or is he making love to a fantasy? Then it goes on to say, who is he kissing? Wish I knew what he was thinking when he looks into my eyes. Who is he kissing, me or her? Am I being used? Tell me, who does he prefer, me or her? So we got the idea. Jerrica goes on to, at some point, to ask Synergy to run a holographic scenario based on Rio's history and personality. And of course, he went through what only can be described as a man tantrum, as usual. Kicked over a plant, acted crazy, and he said he hates lies and deception, okay? But you're sleeping with two different women you work for and with. Plus, basically, they're both your boss. And if I'm not mistaken, Jerrica was MySpace certified his girlfriends.
I love that.
Am I wrong?
No. And, this is one of those things that will go over a child's head at the time. But when you do listen to these lyrics, they are making love. And it's not just some, she's dressing up and playing in the bedroom. No, he thinks they're two different women. But I love that Synergy, like you said, just knew him enough to know that how angry he gets and how... So Synergy was dead on. Speaking of Synergy, if anyone doesn't know what Synergy is, she is a computer that Jerrica, her father, made prior to his death. And David, I know you probably have a better explanation of describing Synergy.
So Synergy is a holographic, state-of-the-art holographic projection machine computer that has kind of its own personality, so to speak. It's actually based off of her mother. And some of the music that her mother performed was actually lost inside of Synergy's hard drive or whatever at that time. Remember, this is the 80s, so maybe it was a hard drive. So maybe that's what it was.
It was a floppy disk or something.
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah.
So Jem has these really pretty red star earrings that help project these holographic images, real looking images that we still can't produce today, by the way, or maybe we're close to producing, but it was exciting back then. She just used the earrings.
That Whitney hologram tour they were working on.
Yeah, and that was standing still, really. She was able to transform images to different people and whatever. So this computer, Synergy, was based off of her mother, and it projects lifelike images and also can change your appearance. So it was based off of her mother, which I think was a gift from her father to her because she lost her mother at such a young age. So that's Synergy. So yeah, Synergy ran this projection holographic scenario so she could get her feelings out, and in true form, I mean, obviously it wasn't him, but it really was what he would react to.
It was Synergy had him down. Basically.
Well, she listens to everything through those earrings, so she's sleeping with him as Jem, Jerrica.
So Synergy is the original Google/Siri. She's listening in. She's gathering.
Big Brother. She's Big Brother too. She knows everything. She's got you.
Jerrica's saying she wants a new coffee machine, and sure enough, Synergy is projecting that onto an ad.
It's Alexa. She's Alexa too. She's like, I have found 17 different coffee makers to fit your description. But she's more than that because she has personified some of her mother's characteristics. The father programmed her to be very much like her mother. Not like her because she looks futuristic, she looks like she should be doing the neutron dance or something from the Pointer Sisters, the way she's dressed, because she's this cool holographic thing. But yeah,
she's a product of the 80s, of course. But how smart of this show, and I really do want to give it to the writer of this show, Christine Marks. She did want this to be like a soap opera. She created, a lot of series do create what they call a series Bible before they write the show, but researching this before we did this today, she put so much into this. Still to this day, she would love to redo Jem. The sad part was, we're going to talk about the movie later, she didn't even know that they were making a movie until she watched the trailer drop, and she is the one who basically created all these characters, which was sad.
And she had to pay 99 cents cents to download the commercial for the new Gem.
Listen, people out there, copyright your music. So, Christy Marks, she definitely gave this. This was not just a toy. A lot of 80s properties now are getting hate as basically they were just made to make the action figures sell, the dolls sell, which, yes, is of course true, but it didn't mean that these writers, such as Christy Marks, didn't put effort into it. This is not just a doll commercial, this show.
I agree with you. I don't think that it's just a marketing tool to sell toys for the person that's doing the voiceovers, that's doing the singing, that's doing the characters, that finds a friendship and a camaraderie with the other actors and puts their heart and soul into something. It's a storyline. It just happens to be that you have to play the game to make the money. Right. You have to be able to sell. The selling of the dolls paid for production and vice versa. So really, it's a one hand washes the other. You know, I think we had this conversation maybe a couple of days ago how some artists, and again, I'll run off on a tangent, just reel me back in, but how some artists complain that they're in a contract, and some of them are really bad, but like they're in a contract, they have to do like 2 or 3 albums with the type of music that the, you know, record label says they have to, but they make a ton of money, they get notoriety, and they're still able to do their craft, maybe not exactly the type of music they want.
Yes.
But they still, and then they can go off to be successful and do the music they really want to do. So kind of tying it back to that is that these people that worked on the show, I would like to believe, I'm pretty sure that, you know, from the kind of little interviews and different things that I've read, that it was a family thing. It wasn't just about selling dolls.
And like you said, it does go hand in hand. So while we're still in characters, let's get to the Misfits. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, David, do you prefer the Misfits over the Holograms? Not maybe, of course, I know you love all the characters, but do you feel like the Misfits are the standout band?
So when I knew I was going to do this with you, I kind of re-listened to a lot of music and stuff, and I will say that I like the Misfits because they definitely embody what I remember 80s rock bands to be. Trashing hotel rooms, having no regard for anything, just walking out half drunk, so to speak, like during an interview. They really kind of hit the mark. But I also, honestly, again, going back to how you said that some cartoons are now being trashed, I really feel like they had a very empowering message, whether it was rude or they were being not the nicest people, they still were being powerful women and saying what they wanted. There's a song that the Misfits sing called Designing Woman, and she basically says, like, the song, I don't remember the lyrics exactly, but it's like basically some women like pine over men, and she's not doing that. Too bad, because she's a designing woman. She gets what she wants. And honestly, for a young girl to hear that, maybe not obviously in a nasty kind of way where you're trashing people's homes or something, but I think that every one of Jem's songs pretty much goes back to love, romance, fantasy, fun, friendship. So all of those things, where the Misfits are about me, or literally, I'm going to get what I want. There's definitely something fun about that too, because they did get away with a lot of stuff. However, I don't like the idea that she's a rich girl and she kind of, you know, gets away with whatever she wants because of daddy's money. So that kind of ties into like the whole, like, you know, Paris Hilton and like that kind of the Kardashians, that sort of like vibe where, oh, well, we have money, we come from money, so money will get us the music career, money will get us what we want. And I'm not saying these women didn't work hard. No offense to Kim or, you know, or Paris, because I like them just as much as anybody else does, but there's definitely a message.
It shows real world, like you're saying, that's the real world equivalent of...
You got to one up because your parents were rich or famous. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens to all these celebrities these days. Their kids become famous. Do you think that anybody would give them the time of day if they didn't have the name recognition? They'd be just a nameless face in the crowd of everybody that comes to Hollywood or Nashville to be a singer or a star. I'm not bitter, just disappointed.
99 cents, people.
99 cents.
In iTunes.
So yes, I love the Misfits.
Now, at one point, this is season 3. This is probably the final season of Gem. They tried to do, I guess, what you would call a soft reboot, where they introduced another band. And David, tell us about the Stingers.
Stingers. Yes. Another very self-absorbed band. Riot was the lead singer, and had more hair than I've ever seen on any cartoon or man in life. It was just big flowing locks of blonde hair, and he was obsessed with Gem. So how this happened is, well, they were also very manipulative. So where the Misfits, Pizzazz was, I feel like, all about herself, there still was some sort of heart there. Every so often she would kind of soften, and you'd see that she had feelings and she wasn't just this malicious, evil person. Now Riot, on the other hand, and his two
Are they Russian?
I don't know. I don't know if that was just a facade they put on, because you find out later on that Riot visits, I believe it's his dad. He never felt accepted by his dad. So again, where that dramatic storyline is, it's like the Disney, what is it? The Disney combination. Everybody has their mother always. Everyone's died. Somebody's died and they've been left alone, sort of a thing. That's kind of like a winning combination for you to feel sorry for them. So that just, again, my personal opinion. So yes, the singers come in, and Jerrica, knowing that they are the most fabulous and outrageous thing to come along, wants to sign them. But also Misfits Records is it Misfits Records that Eric Raymond?
Well, it was Eric Raymond, right? So what did he...
I think it was Misfits, but that was what's on the billboard. They want to sign them too. So they're at a party, and the Stingers basically play both of them to try to get whatever they can out of both Pizzazz and Eric Raymond and the Misfits and Jem and the Holograms, until Jem walks in. She flips her hair and she's like, all right, we're gonna get this one. So she just randomly at I think they were at like a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame where they were donating a guitar or something. Jem just breaks out and she's like, all right, let's go. We're gonna do a song. That's how we're gonna get him. And that's what she did. She sang.
Why don't we lead to some of the music? This show again had some fantastic tunes, and David has put together some of his favorite. I also put a small list of some of my favorites. And whenever you're ready, David, let's hear some of your favorite tunes.
This was probably one of the most difficult things, because as someone who loves music in general, I know we're obviously talking about a cartoon, but at the same time, let me tell you something. Some of the vocals were pretty phenomenal. I think it even eclipsed some of the actual artists, quote unquote, that were out in the 80s, the time that this came out. What was her name? Britta Phillips?
Yes, a matter of fact, for anyone who doesn't know, and I had discussed this with David the other day off camera, that they got the perfect match of voice and singing voice for Jem, because they were two different people. And I believe that they matched each other's tone. You actually believe that was the Jerrica that was singing in these songs, I feel like.
But both ladies are actual singers. That's
the funny part. Both are singers, and the voice of Jem, now the speaking voice of Jem, has records. She goes out. Thank you, Samantha. She's got the pink hair. She goes to Comic-Cons, and she does sing. So she was hoping, I believe, that she was going to be the singing voice. But honestly, you're right. The voice that they did get Jem, she takes it to a 10.
Well, that again, that's that formula that has always been by most of the industry. Like every single Disney movie, cartoon-wise, there is a voice actor, and then there is the singer, which I guess because maybe they get more of a commercial voice to do the actual singing part. I don't know what the formula is. It's not like the same like the live action shows, like movies now, like Aladdin, where the actor is also the singer. So I don't know why, but I mean, it was a winning combination for me. I loved both. I think both women are equally talented, and would love to see them. I actually do kind of peek once in a while at like, YouTube, and kind of like not follow, but just to see if did you put anything new out, or wow, oh my God, I can hear Jem's voice in this song, because
Speak on your songs.
Okay, so absolutely, again, hard to pick out. I've Got My Eye on You. Again, that was used multiple times, and maybe that was the song that she used to get the Stingers to Riot. I'm not sure. It depends on the mood I'm in. Again, that also goes into when Shayna was struggling with her need to be somebody else, and design, that was part of that thing. Time Is Running Out was used multiple times. Deception, Rio, just for you.
It's time to put an end to this deception. But I'm afraid when the whole thing is at an end, and you learn that it's just pretend, you cry deception, 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 deception,
Mr. Pacheco, Glitter and Gold.
watching you see how the others all fold. When I found them with glitter and gold, truly outrageous and beautifully bold. Here comes gold, glitter and gold. Here comes gold, glitter and gold. Here comes gold, glitter and gold.
Realized I really like that song because again it was like a rebirth and just really fun. Love Will Show the Way, which a lot of people don't really remember, and In the Land of the Midnight Sun.
Midnight sun, mountains touch the sky. In the land of the midnight sun, new adventures lie. Be sure to take a chart. You may lose your heart. It's the land of the midnight sun. That you've been dreaming of. You have fallen in love.
Which was kind of a weird, like they went to like Shangri-La, which was completely off the rails for this cartoon because it was like a magical city that they went to, basically, the Dutch Shangri-La, which doesn't exist, but so definitely those hands down are some of my favorites for Gem. What about you?
You named some fantastic songs. Some of the ones that I did write down that stand out to me are She's Got the Power, about Synergy.
She's got the power to create confusion. Her mastery is no illusion. She's got the power, power. She's got the power, power, power. She's got the power. She's got the power, power. She's got the power, power, power. She's got the power.
A Father Should Be.
Father should be a hero. Father should come through. Father should be someone just like you.
Which was from Bonnie. I mean, was it? I don't think it's Bonnie, right? It's Bonnie. She was one of the Starlight Girls who wanted to be adopted, and okay, let's just go on a tangent. Her father was in the war in Vietnam.
Yeah, so I don't know if the time frame would actually match up, but I was living for it anyway because she had this GI who fell in love with her mother in Vietnam and obviously had a baby, and she had to give the baby up, and Bonnie ended up in America as an orphan, and she had a picture, I believe, of her dad where his face was shrouded in shadow where you couldn't see it. He had a GI outfit on, so he was in the army, I guess, and she always hoped that he'd come back for very, very classic orphan story, like Little Orphan Annie. One day my family will come for me, one day my dad will come for me. And of course, being a dad, it's kind of very sad and for a cartoon, but very sad that she, was hoping against all odds that she would find her dad.
And she was dreaming about what the perfect father would be. And the least for Bonnie, she had a happy ending. She did get adopted, right, by her father, or her father found her some magic way.
I think Jerrica. So again, stealing off of Little Orphan Annie, I feel like we're going off a tangent, but that's okay. At least, is it okay? Bonnie wanted to find her biological father, and Jerrica / Gem did do sort of like, again, very much Little Orphan Annie, tried to find, like Daddy Warbucks, tried to find her Annie's parents. She did the same thing, and this loser who just wanted money basically pretended to be her dad.
Yes! Yes!
And then Gem had to go rescue her. What I don't understand, okay, now I'm going to go off the in another tangent. Why did Gem not use Synergy more often to save her butt? Why did she not? I would be holographic projecting, because not only can Synergy do visual, but she can do sound too. So I would have police cars coming when the Misfits were acting up and like, oh girl, you better run. Cops are coming for you. I would have used Synergy to stop these people from
I can't be arrested again. My parole is up.
yeah, like, anyway. So eventually they did actually find her father, who was an artist, I believe, and
Wasn't he a ginger?
he was a ginger, the ginger man.
So did Jerrica actually, did she do the research to figure that they weren't handing her over again to another
random man? Well, I'm sure Synergy was not. There was no internet, so Synergy couldn't do all the labor.
No, and if it wasn't about Rio, Synergy was evidently not interested.
No, she was just
Jerrica, Bonet could go with that man. I have no information.
Yeah, exactly. So they did find it, and the last episode, Bonet being taken home with her dad, and you see not only Gem and the Holograms, the Misfits and the Stingers all getting along to wish her farewell, which totally was bizarre for me, but ended it on a nice note that maybe they could all be friends, because they sort of felt, the sorrow and the triumph that Bonet was able to find her father, because I'm sure they kidnapped her at some point, the Misfits.
I know, I was going to say, her and one of those other Starlight girls have been kidnapped, I'm sure. And just a few other songs that stand out for me is Tomorrow Is My Wedding, which
I sang on my wedding day to myself because you sang it to me.
Yes, David has been married for how many years now? 5 years?
2015.
And this is just a beautiful song about Kimber basically getting married, which I don't know, did this actually stand in the show? Did they bring this up after that she was married? Or was it just like she's one and done? She got married and in comic cartoon world, we're just going to carry on like she wasn't.
Well, I don't think the boyfriend, or I should say the husband, had a reoccurring role.
Oh, so he was really just a token. Kimber's getting married.
She's married. So
Take that, Gem. Kimber got married before you.
You're an old maid.
Also, Starlight by Jerrica and Kimber's mother.
Jackie Bennett? Is it
Jackie Bennett, yes, because she was a singer as well. And let me just tell you, David began this saying that the pilot was at a funeral in the rain, but Gem's mother died in a plane crash, I believe also in the rain. You could see her getting on the plane. It's sad. It is really sad. And this, again, a plot that what other 80s cartoon was doing this? Plane crashes. Amazing.
Well, this is just like going back to like the day the music died with the Big Bopper, or like when Patsy Cline died, things like that. Again, very
real world
and very like, wow, for a child to process.
And then the other 3 songs that I wrote down was When It's Only Me and the Music, Twilight in Paris, and This Is Only the Beginning. Only the Beginning.
The first song that Gem sang to introduce herself as right? That was the first song.
I feel like they really brought their songs, because She's Got the Power was in that pilot / movie as well, I believe, when they discovered Synergy. And it's so funny, I just want to do an honorable mention of the Misfits in Hawaii.
We're misfits in Hawaii, singing a Hawaiian song. We're misfits in Hawaii. We wear a sarong, but it looks so wrong.
because I feel like
Aloha.
Aloha! When I was speaking about Gem with Rob from Brunch with the Hollowells and Movie Geek and Proud about Gem, the one thing he said he could remember was Misfits in Hawaii. And why is it, was this episode aired more than others? Because prior to this, prior to a few years ago when it was back on Netflix and we could relive these fantastic shows, the one episode that did stand in my mind was Misfits in Hawaii. I wonder if it was like one of those ones that was on all the time, or was it just because they were in Hawaii? The
It was
song.
just campy. Like the song really is about them not only getting bug bites from weird bugs, getting burnt alive from the sun, and getting tropical diseases. I think she says.
Yes,
So
that's 7 tropical diseases, I think.
it's just really campy, and I think people can appreciate the fact that the song was, like, again, in true Misfits form, very raw. She's like, basically, I'm going to tell you that I went to Hawaii thinking this is going to be great. We're burnt, we're bit up, and we're sick. Why am I here? Like, you know what? No offense to Hawaii, love you, but she's like, through this place.
And I'm sure they only went there to basically kill Gem at some point. So why were they there, right? They probably figured,
She's like, we'll steal their equipment. She wanted to sleep with Rio constantly. I don't know what this man had besides purpley hair that made him.
I don't know,
appealing.
because that whining and that attitude that he gives, he is, if anything, if anyone says that Gem was not female empowerment, which I don't know how they can, but there is, and maybe we can do a show about this one day, David. Again, there is this hate that's growing in modern times for 80s cartoons. This Rio definitely is not the man that is a strong, a perfect. I mean, yes, he's handsome and he's nice at some points, but they're not showing a man that's fantastic at any means in this show.
No, and he doesn't mansplain things, so which is nice. He doesn't mansplain.
Thank God.
He kind of does. But I will say, I really feel like Jerrica has like Stockholm syndrome or something with Rio because here's okay. So again, I'm channeling Miss Yvette Brown here. I wrote down some notes. There's a point where Jerrica actually gets pissed off at Rio because he wants to see Gem. Jerrica almost gets like psychologically damaged and unhinged because people are asking about Gem. Now here's the funny part: most of the people are asking about Gem not only because, one, where did this person disappear to with this beautiful beautiful pink hair that's like glamorous and she just fall off the face of the earth, can't be seen anyplace, not even spotting her without her makeup like we do every artist, like every so often in an
This
airport.
is a dream for people.
Yeah, she's gone. Okay, that's one. But they haven't made music in years. So this is from an episode. This is part of the you talked about Glitter and Gold. Going back to that, people are like, where's Gem? Did she die? And Jerrica purposely does not become Gem because she's pissed off that Rio wants to be with Gem too, and she's realizing, well, I don't have to be Gem. If there is no Gem, there is no Rio in Gem. At least they don't say that, but that's what, because she like flips out. She's like, I am tired of hearing about Gem.
Yes.
I am tired of everything. Gem. Do you want her more than you want me? Are you going out with her? Like, she flips out on even her bandmates. Were like, are we going to do some music? We are a band.
Going back, and again, people, I'm sorry, we're going off on random tangents, but this is a great point. Do you even think that she need to have that secret identity to Rio? I know it's a trope that's used in every cartoon where there's a superhero, a Sailor Moon, Wonder Woman, they have the secret identity. But with Rio, does it even matter? I mean, it added that drama to it, but I feel like they could have just gone by, yes, the Misfits, she's still that whole thing. Or they could have did an episode, because it doesn't feel like this show is afraid of doing topics that make sense. They could have did a real life, finally, Rio knows that I'm Gem.
So, but that was where the holographic simulation came through, that's his reaction would have been. She would have lost her. So she was just doing her. Because she ends up, there's another episode where she stays Gem and refuses to turn back into Jerrica.
Oh, so she's having full personalities at this point.
Yeah, she has personality disorder, because what happens is she goes away with Riot from the Stingers to a tropical, probably not Hawaii, but a tropical location, and she refuses to turn back into Jerrica. She leaves Starlight, and the Misfits end up buying Starlight music and taking over Starlight House and force the Holograms to basically become part of the Misfits. Do you not remember this? This is a big thing.
You know why? I feel like I only saw limited episodes of that last season.
Oh, I saw everything. I saw everything.
Because you had the DVDs, but then I remember at one point season 3 wasn't available, or it was harder to get. But anyway, continuing on this.
She decides to stay Gem because Riot is just showering her with affection, and he's very like, oh, you're the perfect woman, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever, you're just as beautiful as I. Narcissistic much?
Oh,
Scary
God.
narcissist.
They didn't even draw him, I feel like, that attractive.
No, but whatever.
I mean,
Ego.
not that that means anything, but on the surface.
So eventually she comes to her senses. I don't know why Synergy didn't say something like,
But she's listening to this drama. Synergy needs to
she's,
live
she's
through
like,
her.
you ain't heard this from me because I ain't one to gossip, but maybe you should take care of those Starlight children and the house. So basically, the Misfits take over everything, which I think is kind of amusing. That works itself out. But there is also an episode where, again, the Misfits are so insane. Like, who would even think of this? This is like the episode, when Buffy goes into her own mind, she shuts down, and like there's
Yes.
like, or when Piper from
It's like normal again, I think it was called in
Some-
Buffy, and Brain Drain in the original Charm.
when Piper wakes up in a psychological psycho ward, and that's actually the manor. Somehow Jem gets kidnapped again, as usual, wakes up in a fake house, it's a set that's completely made over to look like the Starlight Mansion or whatever it's called, that because the Misfits want to find out what her secret identity is. So they hire actors that look exactly like Kimber.
Yes, that is
and she wakes up and she's like, am I losing my mind? And she's like, well, who are you? What are, like all the actors, and she thinks that she's literally losing her mind, which probably leads to the fact that she's all over the place with Jerrica and Jem.
So they found, I love that she was able to find actors that looked exactly like these women.
And then they play this part, and they're always trying to find out her identity. This is the most bizarre, again, off the rails, episode that, like, it's what? I mean, but again, she has the money to do all that stuff. She could hire these actors.
And at this point, why wasn't Jerrica hiring bodyguards if she and her girls were going to get kidnapped continuously?
Because every so often she'd have Synergy turn her into what looks like a potted plant or something so she could escape. So, whatever. She would do those things, every so often. That's what I'm saying. Use Synergy more often. I want to bring up something from my notes. Yes. There was an episode. This is what I'm trying to say about the Misfits, how crazy they are. Does anybody remember the episode when the Misfits actually broke into a session of Congress and started singing a song called The Star-Spangled Fantasy? They broke into Congress during a session of Congress. First of all, again, never arrested. They would have put a bullet in her these days. This would have been like a riot thing, where they thought they were protesting or something. They asked them or arrested them. They broke into Congress and started singing a song called The Star-Spangled Fantasy, and it's all about pizzazz. So anyway.
At least they were patriotic about it, evidently. That's amazing.
So this is the bizarre nature of this cartoon, but also really fun and just what really made me love it.
Okay, and we can't stop this episode without talking about the 2015 Jem and the Holograms live action movie. What are you thinking about this? What do you feel about this movie? I do have some notes, but what are your thoughts going into this movie?
Our songs are better. We're gonna get her.
Well, yes, that was, for anyone who didn't see, they left the Misfits for the end of the movie, which I believe was done in a reshoot. But if they had started with that ending, with actually Kesha is in this as Pizzazz, go ahead. But if they would have used that ending with the Misfits, it would have actually resembled Jem a little more.
What to say? No, it's not. It's not bad. I appreciate the fact that they try to pay an homage or some sort of a likeness to the original. I think that things do need to be updated to some degree. I guess I can understand the updating. I just didn't understand the fact that so this movie is based in reality, right? So this is a reality-based movie. It's not a fantasy cartoon where literally Synergy has the power to create realistic holographic images and stuff like that. So there's not that aspect of it, which kind of sucks because, she has this little robot that's named Synergy basically, and she has these earrings, but they're not anything special.
They're gigantic. I watched it again.
They're dangles. All right?
They are more than dangles. They look like gigantic plastic. They're supposed to be stars, but they don't even look like that.
They don't go with everything. No. So... They just don't go with
in fact,
everything.
they go with nothing.
Yes, what do I think about it? I like the idea that they did it. I love the fact that they have Molly Ringwald as the mom because
Yeah.
that again parts out to 80s. That's really fun that they did that. And I think she's really unappreciated as an actress anyway. I think she's done other things, but I think
Yeah.
to have her do it, I think it's fun. I would have loved for Synergy to be a little bit more, maybe project images of something, even if it's like was a light show, like a really great light show for her to base her like look off of and stuff like that. In this day and age, if you're on YouTube or have any account, Facebook account, people will find you and know who you are. So that makeup wasn't really hiding her identity. I don't think she was trying to with the big pink makeup on her face, but
I wrote in my notes that Jem is basically Sia in this movie. Like, she wears that pink over her face, almost like a mask. And this is her form of a hologram, I guess. But Jerrica in this movie is afraid of singing and getting out there. And then Kimber secretly posts her on YouTube and she becomes this literally overnight. I don't know what Kimber was doing to promote anything, but Jem exploded overnight so much that the next morning, Erica Raymond instead of Eric Raymond, which I don't mind them doing the gender swap like that because it makes sense with a Jem movie. Like a Jem. I think that character was fine the way it was with Erica Raymond. But I find like the problem with most live action remakes of cartoons are they want to reinvent things so much just to be, I don't know, relevant, right? But at the same time, it's the same thing with He-Man when they made the He-Man movie back in the day. Now, I know that actually suffered only from budget cuts. Like Eternia would have been bigger to make than, let's say, He-Man going to Earth and meeting Courtney Cox. But when you see certain titles, if it's He-Man, you want Castle Grayskull, you want Battle Cat, you want transformation sequences. With Jem, you expect things. You expect holograms. You expect music that is, over the top and fun. It's like a lot of these Hollywood movies are just, we're taking the name, and I have this with the Charmed reboot, it's Jem in name only. Like we'll take the name Jem, we'll take the name Holograms, we'll throw in the name Zipper as the villain is still Zipper, well, working for the villain. Things like that. Rio, they put on wigs at one point, and they're all wearing their color hair from the original like cartoon, which is a nice tongue-in-cheek thing, but I feel like there's a way to appeal to younger fans, new fans, and the original fans. This does not appeal from anyone I read, does not appeal to any of the original fans. If you would have taken Jem's name out of this was a cute, I could say it's a cute, mediocre film where the actresses were into it. You can tell they seemed like sweet girls in the interviews I was watching. They really enjoyed themselves. But can we not have a movie that's almost like the Brady Bunch movie in the 90s where it's tongue-in-cheek, where they're almost in this world and the rest of the world is gritty and everything, but when Jem comes, it's gorgeous and it's fun, and even with the music in this movie, my favorite thing was right before the movie came out, I think it was the same person who did Justin Bieber's movie documentary. He's Scooter or something, forgive me everybody.
Oh yeah, well he's in trouble, isn't he? But anyway.
But he had said that wait till you hear the soundtrack. The soundtrack is going to have a life of its own away from the movie. Now there's a song Young Blood, which like
When you got Young Blood. Yeah, that's the only song, that's the only lyric I know, and that's the only song I know from that whole thing.
And almost going by the Disney thing you were mentioning earlier, they have Hilary Duff singing Young Blood as the single version on that CD.
I didn't know that. Well, good.
And then they have
Hilary Duff.
The Gem Girls, but they have Young. So couldn't we get any homage? I'll shut up in a minute to let David speak, but the other thing that I want to say is they released a album basically to promote the movie prior to this as well. It was digital, and they literally took the names of Gem songs. And on the eye, you're thinking, oh my god, these are new updates of Gem songs, right? It says Gem, the Stingers, the Misfits with their actual logo, with the movie logo as well. Names of song, let's say Glitter and Gold. The song is called Glitter and Gold. The music, the lyrics, and nothing has to do with the original song. Tell me why they couldn't just update those songs for that. That would make the total sense. I feel like a total missed opportunity with this whole movie.
What do I think about that? I think that again, they didn't feel the audience would appreciate the simplicity or the nicety of the music. I think that the Gem music, the reason why we love it so much is because it's just really sweet and honest, and I don't think that would translate to honestly, I don't think it would translate to the modern world, so to speak.
But couldn't you picture, like, even Who Is He Kissing? Let's just say that you mentioned
I
earlier.
guess,
With
but
a more like
honestly,
punky, who is it, something like.
well, yeah, I could see that. Well, first of all, did they even have the rights to do that? Because
Well, yeah,
actually, I'm
because
pretty
it
sure
was.
Gem was sold to another company.
Well, Hasbro was the one evidently who pushed this because it said due to the fame of them doing the live action G.I. Joe, the live action
Yeah, but
Transformers.
when GI Joe was done, how many years ago? And
I
Transformers
know.
is actually love me some Wahlberg, but that was done. That's actually starting to age too, believe it or not, right?
Well, those movies definitely have their fans and critics alike too. But I feel like
I understand what you're saying, and I would love to have that duality and be able to do both, but I just don't think they thought it would sell, and I'm sure the budget was not that huge on that movie to begin with. So,
no, you
like,
could totally tell.
take away the holographic, because if you did bad CGI, people would have complained about that. If you did this, people would have complained about this. If you would have done that, I agree with you to a point. Like, when if you ever discuss like Charmed in a later podcast, definitely we can talk about that because they're on equal footings, and actually they're in better footings because the newer Charmed might not even have the same budget. I don't know, but they have much more advanced technology from the 90s till currently, where they could have used even for magic scenes and stuff like that. So that's a different story. But this, I think, was a budgeted film. I think that I like the change with Erica Raymond. I think that Juliette Lewis,
Yes, Lewis, yeah.
did a phenomenal job as being like that kind of like that corrupt record exec who kind of like, it's like she wasn't even in her own mind, she wasn't corrupt. She was just basically like, this is the way the industry
Yeah,
works and you have
yes,
to deal
this
with
is
it.
real. I mean, I'm assuming this is really.
It is the way that the industry works. So she was being Eric Raymond. So do I think they could have added maybe more flavor from Gem? Yeah, but do I think that it would have made it campy and cheesy? Probably, and then they would have said that was the reason why it didn't sell when it did.
I feel like the camp would have become maybe a cult classic in the future kind of thing, because I think they totally realized at the end, because like I said, that Misfits scene was shot right before the movie premiered, I believe, and that's when people were seeing the advertisements and saying, what the hell is this? This is not Gem. So they filmed that on to tack on. Evidently they thought this was going to be a series of movies.
Yes, with Kesha with her Muppet eyelashes.
Yes, which is fantastic. And I feel like in that scene alone, they took the whole thing that they could have done with this movie, because even the way it's filmed, it's in this under these neon lights in this garage. It's like dark, and Erica Raymond is trying to find the Misfits to destroy Gem, and then that's when Kesha says the line that our songs are better, like you were saying earlier.
I wonder if they would have made it completely, I don't know, fantasy. Like, I'm trying to think of what was it. Sin City was the movie. Sin City, how it was like filmed like that, or like almost like the old Aha video where it was like sketched and cartooned like parts and stuff. And
yes,
like,
80s are in. This is
they
what's
could
in
have
my.
done that maybe, but I mean, honestly, if like you said, if it wasn't Gem, it would have been a cute movie about a young girl who was following her dreams. That she came from humble beginnings. She tried to stay away from the corruption of Hollywood, and obviously did well because she got herself a man. She got herself a singing career. You know what I would have done differently, if anything, besides obviously adding in some of those elements? They should have had this girl, if they really wanted to do something fun with this, could have had her go out and perform and try to get her booked on like a show with the facade of Gem on, like literally with a pink thing on, like more modernized, more not cartoonish, not necessarily as tacky as Sia can be with that hair thing that she's got over her face anyway.
But it works for her.
Just saying, Sia, but I love you. But if they would have booked her on some sort of a show, like a late show or something, and had her perform, like, have you ever noticed every so often they'll just like have like a random performer that you've never met before,
like a Saturday Night Live kind of thing.
Know before, and and like all of a sudden they just perform, and like then they become famous and they hit it off. They should have done that, like the Masked Singer does now. Like, some of the people are known, some of the people are unknown for singing, but she could have done something like that. That would have promoted the movie more if that would have come out 6 months before the movie.
Speaking of that, actually, they had a kit. Okay, so during the filming, this is one of the things that happened. They asked Gem fans to come together and meet them at this this place, evidently. So they worked this out, Hasbro or the movie. And the people thought they were going to see, you know, they knew they were going to be in the movie, but they have signs with the original Gem logo. They're dressing up like Gem. So they had real fans in that audience when they first performed, thinking that they were going to this Gem thing for the movie. So I wonder what the people seeing it being recorded were like, saying like, oh my God, because these were just extras that were fans of the original cartoon. They got this thing, come down, bring your signs, say how much you love Gem, and they're saying it as like the cartoon Gem. And then they ended up editing these things into the movie, speaking about her Gem on the YouTube video. So
yes, I did see that.
so they had that. They had them go out as a band, and then I think they did one more like radio, not Disney, but like one of these like radio things as the group Gem and the Holograms. But it's too late at that point. The movie was, I believe, one of the fastest movies that have left the movie theater in history, or some crazy amount like that.
Wow.
It's like, that's the legacy. And that's what I feel like. I hope in the long run that people take away from, if they're listening to us today, if they had just seen the movie, maybe give the cartoon a chance. And also, I'm hoping for the future that this does not destroy the property too much, because we're seeing shows like Animaniacs are coming back on Hulu with the original cast, the original actors, the original art style. And knowing that the original creator and the people want to do new episodes, it seems like missing opportunity.
Well, I mean, that's the hot thing right now. You have like everybody's coming back and doing a Netflix. You have like Will and Grace and all these different shows that are coming back for like short periods of time to bring people love it. It's nostalgic. It's a great thing during a pandemic to see like these,
Of course.
you know,
Familiar
things that are going.
faces, yes.
Yeah,
like
and just like it's fun, and the actors are, we know the characters, they're established, and it's just fun to see where people have progressed. There's a lot of things out there now, and I think people are being nostalgic. Listen, sometimes lightning doesn't only strikes once for real. And honestly, that might just be with this. And maybe that's why people like us doing this right now is a fun thing for people to reminisce and enjoy and throw their, you know, their 2 cents in. And I actually have one more point that I have to make about
please.
Gem that I actually had to look this up. So Gem was canceled in 1987 due to poor ratings and low doll sales. So again, we talked about the duality and the back and forth of, you know, you have to sell dolls to produce, you have to produce to sell dolls. It was brought back to the USA Network until 1993, then canceled again. I did not know that.
No, because I would have loved to have seen more episodes around that time.
So that's what I looked up. I haven't. I mean, it was a viable source, so I don't know. But I you know, listen. Any kind of thing, if you're doing it respectfully and not trying to destroy the legacy for people that really enjoy it. Like you said, there's a lot of backlash lately about like, if they're cartoons, people, they're not like, anybody that can say Gem is misogynistic would be out of their minds. And the empowerment, whether it was by force from the Misfits, or you have a woman who's running $1 million music industry, you know, the fact that she's sleeping with, again, I bring it back to that she is fooling around with this guy. It's on her terms. Clearly, she's doing what she wants, even though he's a nut. I'm not even going to go into that. We're trying to keep this PG, but I don't know. I don't know what Jerrica does and what Gem doesn't, or vice versa. That keeps him coming back for more.
Well, we'll wait for the Gem sex tape to leak eventually. Synergy.
Probably.
You know, you're recording it somewhere.
She can edit it too. You know, she could add some holographic images to make it more exciting. But
to sum up Gem for you for this whole thing,
for a kid who believed in like fantasy and like had hopes and aspirations to do something potentially with music, I feel like I don't know, it definitely bridged a gap for me as far as like being a boy and this being a quote unquote girls cartoon. And I love music, and I really do, believe it or not, attribute my love of music to Gem and the Holograms, believe it or not. It also has taught me to be very mindful of the industry. Now, clearly, I'm not in the industry per se, but when I was doing music and there were record people coming around, and, you know, you hear these, like, when I used to perform with other bands and they'd be signed, and I find out that they got stabbed in the back, they just stole their music, they can never do music again because someone took the rights to all their stuff. You don't see all that stuff, but Jem taught me that when I was a kid, so I knew that could potentially happen. I know that sounds silly. And
No, but you're ready for that. You're ready to be stabbed in the back, and you're also ready to be kidnapped, thrown off a cliff, possibly.
multiple partners romantically, whatever floats your boat. Pretend to be somebody else. It basically was a lot for me. It was a really great escape into a just different world that I loved, and I like the fact that it did tell people they could be a musician, they could be an actor, they could be everybody in that show could be anything they wanted to be. And I think that really does give people some hopes and aspirations to be able to do. For me, it was like everything.
So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you so much for David, my brother, for coming on and being a fantastic co-host for this episode. David, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you and see more about you?
So you can find me on Snapchat at Universal Appeal, little homage there to the Misfits. I'm also... Where am I?
You can also find David on Instagram at Universal Appeal 2020. And if you're wondering for more news and how to find us, we are at Radical Retro Podcast on Instagram, or Ryan Hunter Studios, also at Instagram. Thank you again. We hope that you had a truly, truly, truly outrageous time listening to us.
Thank you for letting me babble.
Thank you for having me babble with you. All right, say goodbye, David.
Bye.